Someone said, what three things would you do if you were hiring for a new PT that does not include Indeed job posting? It doesn't really matter where you are, what niche you are, what model you are, anything like that. About 40% of people take a job at one of their clinicals. What's up? It's Joey from Rehab CEOs. Another day of us actually going live and just answering PT clinic owners' questions because someone said, what three things would you do if you were hiring for a new PT that does not include Indeed job posting? So I asked this question on my Facebook and then she hit me with, well, what would you do? So I think instead of just trying to type it out, I figured might as well answer it. So the reason we're doing this is because really right now there's a lot of questions that are being asked in other groups. People are trying to be helpful, but again, they don't necessarily have as much context because we're in over 400 clinics around the nation. So instead of kind of having to have guesswork or anything like that, because you can realistically have guesswork, you can have hard work, or you can have a framework. And so when we've seen so many clinics, we see realistically what works, what doesn't, and it doesn't really matter where you are, what niche you are, what model you are, anything like that. We're answering questions. If you're in our Skool group, if you just go to skool.com/rehabceos, you can join there. That's where we actually pull questions from first. And then, of course, if you have a question, maybe you're not in there and you don't want to have another software or something like that to be able to log into, you can also drop it down below, any questions you have. Or if you're like, I don't remember what you just said right there, Joey, just comment Skool down below and I can send you it. And a lot of y'all are growing because there is a supply and demand that's in favor of y'all being full. Because if we're not full right now, that's kind of an issue. We've got a surplus of people, especially baby boomers, and a deficit of people who are actually coming into the profession, and some people are leaving it. So based on that, we should pretty much always have a hiring issue and or essentially a retention issue or a real estate issue because we ran out of room and everybody's full. So this is talking about the hiring side of things. So what would I do? So of course, the very first one, which this is more of a longer term play, we need to be setting up clinicals because about 40% of people take a job at one of their clinicals. And so immediately you've already lost 60% of the market just by not having a clinical in place. So that would be one of the very first things that I would do because you're getting some help as far as labor standpoint. Two, it's pretty hard to pull the wool over someone's eyes for an entire 10-week clinical or however long it is. So you're going to have a good sense of like, are they a hard worker? Do they get along with your team? Do they actually have good interaction with their patients? Are they actually good clinically? Are they coachable? Like all of those things you'll be able to start to really see, and you don't have to have any guesswork on whether they're going to be a good fit. So if you haven't set up a clinical, it usually takes almost a whole year for you to get it set up. So if you're like, hey, I don't have that, we'll start now because you'll need it a year from now. So that would be the first one. So that's kind of the easier low hanging fruit. Yes, there's a little bit more effort to get it put in place, but anybody who I know who has multiple clinics has that stuff set up. So definitely start working on that now. If you're a PT clinic owner who wants to have more new patients, more profit, or hire another PT inside your clinic, listen up. So here at Rehab CEOs, we work with over 400 clinics around the nation. And what we are doing with our upcoming challenge is we're doing a 3-night seminar where we're going to walk you through the exact systems of how to get to consistent 6-figure months, get more new patients, get more profit, and hire PTs to fill the back end. So if that's something that you're interested, make sure you look at the description below, sign up, and save your seat now. Other things that I'd start to look at realistically would be if we're going to exclude just like making a better offer and all that type of stuff, because I'll just assume you have that, which most people don't, unfortunately, but I'll assume you do. Other things that I'd be looking at is, do we have an actual referral bonus for our team? Because a lot of times we're willing to drop $500,000 in Indeed, or willing to drop $5,000 or $10,000, depending on kind of recruiting or recruiter's structure of their pay. But then for some reason, we're like, hey, I've got this referral incentive. Hey, do you know anybody that would be a good fit? I'm going to offer $200. When in reality, it's like every week you don't have someone, you're losing $5,000 a week in revenue off the opportunity cost because you can't get anybody else in. And so if you were looking at this from an investment standpoint, if you said, hey, I've got this investment, you're going to have to put in $5,000, but you'll have the opportunity to make right around like $85,000 a year in profit with it. If you heard that, first you'd be like, what's the catch? Because like you're like, there's no way that's true, but that literally exists. It's called having a PT and actually being set up to be profitable. So a lot of times we don't do that. And so again, maybe you don't do that because you don't have the money to do it. You don't know how to structure it, some of those type things. And a lot of times what I hear is like, well, I already told them about it and they would have told someone if they knew. Well, how many times have you needed to do something you didn't do until either the pain was enough that you finally got up your off your butt and did it? I mean, there's like, I'm saying that because I've done it myself, or you actually had enough incentive to where like, okay, like I'm definitely going to go do this because it's such a big incentive. I'm going to go the extra mile. So some of them may have like texted someone, but if they're like, man, I can make like 3 grand off of getting someone in, it's like, that's like pretty big difference for some people. I mean, that's some people's car payments for like 6 months, depending on what they're driving. Like it's pretty big. And so the more you can do that, then the more you're also going to get people that are like the ones you like. It's the whole birds of a feather flock together. So they're going to bring more people like them. They're also typically going to try to get them to stay there. So it's actually a retention tool because it's people they like and have worked with before. So they don't want to leave now this culture and community that they're helping build and facilitate. So I would make sure we have a good referral program in place. And then the one that most people don't do because they're a little bit hesitant to do it, they'll immediately tell me, oh, I'm not super prominent on LinkedIn, or I feel bad if I was to do this. But realistically, we got to start pretty much headhunting. And so one of the ways, because there's lots of ways you can kind of go about doing this, one of the ways is you just start connecting with people on LinkedIn. You're like, who do I connect with? One, you can have Sales Navigator and actually just look up your city and figure out who you need to do. But two, you could literally just go look in a 20-mile radius of where you are, go to every single one of their websites. They all have their staff bios on there. Now you go find them, you search for them, you friend request them on Facebook, you connect with them on LinkedIn, and you just start posting content on just the fact that you have a really awesome place to work with and the results. But that's not the actual play. You need that type stuff so they don't think you're just a random crazy person, but you're going to reach out to those people once they connect and you're going to tell them, hey, we have this offer. So you're going to tell them like we're offering XYZ. This is what the actual structure looks like. You actually be a really good fit. Who do you know who could potentially be a benefit or a potential candidate for this? And so pretty much what you're saying is like, here's my awesome offer. You're a perfect fit. I realize that you have a job. So instead of me saying, hey, quit your job, who do you know? So this allows you to effectively anybody that's kind of on the fence, if it's a good offer, and you already told them that they're a high likelihood of being a good fit, they're more likely to actually say, well, I know a guy and their name is Joey. And so that's one way you can kind of start to look at this and they'll start to have the opportunity to do that. Or some of them are actually going to be like, hey, I'm not looking right now, but like you should go talk to Sam and they will do an introduction. So they know Sam's been looking for a job and it sounds like this is a really good offer. So, worst case scenario, they just say, I'm not interested. And now you at least have them as connection on LinkedIn. And over time, and there may be a time where they actually are interested. So you can start to build that relationship, but it's not a hard ask or anything like that. And before you worry about like, oh, I don't want to take that job from someone else, it's like, well, if my wife goes to the bar and there's a guy that says, hey, come home and sleep with me, she's not just going to go home and sleep with them. Like you have to be poachable. So it takes two. And so if they are happy where they are, they're not going to leave. So you're good. But if they're not happy, you're just giving them a better opportunity. And again, you have to be poachable to be poached. So if you're like, oh, I wouldn't do that, it's like, well, cool. That person needs to create a better environment where people aren't willing to actually leave. I've had several people try to poach our team and offer $10,000, $15,000 more than what we offer. And they're like, no, I'm good. And so if you don't have a good culture, you don't have an ascension plan, you don't have mentorship, you don't have those things, I wouldn't go down the poaching route because they'll poach you right back. So you got to make sure you kind of got your own ducks in a row first. But like doing actual outbound like this works really, really well, especially when it's coming from the owner. So that's something I'd look at. So those would be kind of the three that I'd be looking at pretty aggressively. I'll give you a bonus one if you do in-person CEUs. So whether that's like dry needling or you want to teach someone on whatever new service you have, where typically you would have someone fly in, they come in, they charge per head that comes in. Sometimes they charge a flat rate as long as it's up to XYZ. So maybe it's 5 grand for them to effectively do this. But what you do is you actually invite a lot of the other PTs from around the area. They come in. Now you have a 2 to 3 kind of day opportunity to start to actually get to know them, see their hand skills, see how good they are at communicating. And over time, they're going to be like, this place is awesome. And they do this CU type stuff all the time. Like maybe I should start to consider this. And so you're letting them in, they're getting their CEUs, they're happy, you're building relationships, your team's getting their own CEUs. And so this is another way you can kind of start to use these as recruiting opportunities on top of the fact that you're actually getting your CEUs done, which most people want more mentorship. So this is a way to kind of structure that stuff in as well. So hopefully this is helpful. And again, if y'all have any questions and you haven't already joined our Skool, just comment Skool down below. If you are for some reason not wanting to join another community, just drop your question down here. We're answering one of these every single day. I committed to doing this every day, weekend, weekday, for a whole 365 days. Maybe I'll do it more often than once a day, depending on how many questions we have, but I just want to make sure we can help y'all as fast as possible. And I'll see y'all in the next one.